Hey, Roman, thanks for joining us today on Trusted Connections. How are you?
Hey Trish, how are you? I'm doing well.
Do- Good, good. Glad to hear. So, tell us what's been going on. What's been happening in the past few months?
We are trying to survive COVID through construction and real estate just like everyone else. It's moving goalposts. It changes every single day, but we're plugging away. We're getting through the projects one by one and seeing things starting to open up a little bit here, albeit a little bit of a pullback by the mayor today, but every day is a new challenge. And
I know
yeah,
so many things to work through. So, give us just a quick background on how you got started.
sure. So in real estate, when I was in college, I was studying economics at Drexel, and my brother had just started to get into the business. He had some work like cleaning out houses, doing some real grunt work, stuff that nobody really wants to do. And
Yeah,
I took a liking to it part-time while I was in school. And then I guess we started to renovate homes together and then started to build new construction buildings and then kind of became developers and realtors. And I don't know, the rest is history. It just kind of kept scaling upward and to what it is.
yeah, that's awesome. So, was this something that you originally you and your brother were planning to do, or did you just kind of fall into it? How did it happen?
Kind of happened organically. So like Drexel was pretty cool with schooling and whatnot. They set up like co-op system where they let you work like a lot of different 9 to 5s and jobs like that. And I think somewhere along the way, I realized that I wasn't going to do too well with authority and that type of structure. So I sort of kind of went my own way, my own direction. And yeah, it kind of happened organically. It was never like a discussion about a game plan or
Right.
this is what you're going to do with your life after school. It was just, I think there's something here. Let's continue to pursue it. Let's see what it becomes. And then we've grown a lot of different ways since then. It's been a hell of a ride.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, had you been seeing a lot of people around you doing the same thing? Was it something that, you were watching local people do and you're like, this is great, let's jump in, or was it kind of, your own?
I think my mom still thinks I'm nuts. Like I think my family still thinks I completely lost it with this approach. But like starting to like finally now, like after all the adversity and coming through the other side, starting to prove them wrong a little bit. I think they're
Right.
resentful. I think they'd rather that I would have had to have taken up a regular job and not proved them wrong a little bit. But no, I did see other people in the industry, like people that actually kind of look upward towards or piggyback off of. And for the most part, I just liked designing spaces. I liked building buildings. I enjoyed the entire process. So so it felt like something to stick with.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so fun. So, what is it that you were drawn to get in this business? Like, what specifically were you like, you know what, this is like something that I would really like to do for?
So I think like real estate people are unique in that like you're your own harshest critic and there's nobody really out here to hold you accountable except for yourself. At the end of the day, you can choose your own clients and do your own thing and your own fortune or I guess lack thereof is basically up to your own hard work and decisions that you make. And I kind of like that ultimate sense of control.
Hmm.
I feel like I enjoy the product, I enjoy all of it, but I think that like the main part about it that I really enjoy is that decision-making element, to set your own hours, the freedom that comes along with this kind of industry. It's stressful, but to the same degree, it's also extremely rewarding. I love it.
Yeah, it is. I know it's being an entrepreneur definitely does have so many perks in being able to, kind of self-regulate and, you know, you create your own destiny, which is something that, can be scary and powerful all at the same time. What do you have to do daily to help kind of push you through, the tough times? Because especially recently, it's just been so the turbulent, with trying to, stay motivated with just all the outside conditions and things like that. So what do you do?
So normally, I mean, like stress is a big part of the job, and there's a lot of things going on, especially now. I spend my time worrying about the backup plan. I worry about the backup plan to the backup plan. That's how I tend to take like that uncertainty or those elements and like take that stress and angle it towards something productive.
Hmm.
I'm real used to like sitting around and just worrying about an outcome that you can't control. What you can do is kind of stack sandbags for, well, if this happens, this is our approach. if this happens, that's our approach. And setting up those systems and backup plans and stuff is a good way to manage
Yeah, absolutely.
elements that are outside of what you can control, especially now. It's just like uncharted waters. So we're doing
Yep.
that now than ever. And then, believe it or not, like some of it we've used, like stuff's happening.
Yeah. Now, do you follow other markets and see what they're doing to help kind of, give you a little guidance on, where things could be trending, or what's your approach with, how you kind of navigate this?
All the time. We follow national submarkets on, I guess, at least the top 20 cities and a lot of the emerging cities just to see what they're doing.
Hmm.
Yeah, we just see kind of what their activity is, what's growing, what's not, how Philadelphia is competing in terms of inventory, in terms of pricing compared to those guys, to see where we're winning and where we're losing, and if long-term things are still sustainable here. So.
Yeah. So, which market would you say you follow the most that, you kind of pattern, your ways after?
I don't think I pattern my ways after a market, but like the markets that we tend to follow for investment purposes or maybe to invest in the future, things like places I like to go,
Hmm.
markets that are in that high growth time period, So we look at like Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg, Florida, or like Austin, Texas, or like these are markets that are really having extreme growth years, and also places I like to be. So they're
Right.
ones to follow, like they're kind of leading the way, and it's frustrating to see markets like that grow at extreme rates and then deal with our business climate and some of the decisions our leaders make. But you try
Yeah.
the same thing to the whole point. Like you try not to worry about things out of your control. You pull the inspiration out of things that they might be doing, see if it's applicable to what you're doing, and then just kind of move forward and look for other opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what kind of projects are you working on right now?
So we're working on a few different mixed-use developments. We're doing a 20-unit condo building at Aramingo in Belgrade. We'll have parking, kind of a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 1-to-1 structure. We're also doing a lot of housing in University City. We're working on a church conversion. It'll start to permit soon, same type of ordeal. A lot of multi-family, mid-sized buildings, smaller spaces designed to be kind of more economically efficient, new construction with lower price points for younger folks and different people who don't want to spend 500,000 plus for these big McMansion townhomes.
Right.
People don't want to build these buildings because they're hard to build, they're hard to get approved and all that. But we think there's a huge demand for the middle market apartment buildings, and that's kind of what I've been plugging away with, and that's kind of what a space where I see us continuing to grow.
Yeah. So, where would you say you draw most of your inspiration from for building the homes and the design, the clientele that you're going after? How do you come up with all of that?
I love these neighborhoods, and like I really love being in them. So it's kind of like when we're out somewhere in a specific neighborhood, you start to see like what's missing here. How come so few people get to enjoy this? How do we get this experience more scaled to more people? And I think a lot of people kind of look at it in the same degree. Architecture and design, I kind of lean on our teams for a lot of that. I see what I like around the world and apply it here to like a Philadelphia version of it. But in terms of like the opportunities, I think when you're in a neighborhood when something's great, when talented people are there, and that you want to deliver that opportunity to more people. And it comes with a lot of opposition along the way, especially in Old Town. It's reluctant to change its ways, but I don't know. We find that it's worth fighting the battle for, and we
Yeah.
just want to deliver more units to people so more people can enjoy a lot of the great things that we have to offer, because we really do have a lot of good stuff.
Right. How do you involve the communities that you're going into, that you're building?
So we are usually in front of these different RCO groups for zoning matters where we need to get things changed. So we've developed a relationship over the years. And a lot of times we just go to the general meetings just to see what's going on. I'll sit in the back, try not to be too involved, and just try to monitor all the good things that members in the community are putting together, different public parks programs or community days or rainbows and windows or whatever they're up to that week. It's just good to be in the know and support the cause, and we support a good amount of them. And that's kind of how we do it. A lot of the times, like before we even take a project to a neighborhood, I'll spend a couple months sitting in the back, just getting to know like the paradigm of who works what and who's volunteering where, and just to understand like what people's concerns are before trying to force feed them something they might not want.
Yeah. So what would you say that, you do to try and connect with the people to create trust and figure out, what would fit well in the communities and for people to be more receptive and receiving?
Well, trust is unique in that like you have to spend years developing it and you can lose it in minutes. So I mean, the way that we really develop trust here is just continuing to show up. You just continue to show up to the meetings. You do the things you said you were going to do. You do right by the neighbors of the projects, and word of mouth just continues to go around that these guys are overwhelmingly largely good people. They're in the minority of real estate folks in that way, and that you should be willing or want to deal with them. And so just, I don't know, just principles of honesty, integrity, and just taking the time to show up to these meetings, show up to these events, just caring. You don't have to, I don't have to agree with everything that's going on or agree with the board members of a certain group to at least be there and listen. And then that just shows that you care. And like those little things we found to make big instrides in the neighbors and neighborhoods that might have been reluctant to outsiders in general. And it helps that I'm actually from here, from Philadelphia. People who tend to look at me
Yeah,
a
be more
little bit
receptive.
differently than the out of the New York developer or the people who come down here. So
Right.
I got that box checked. It helps me. I've been using that card a lot lately.
Yeah, people definitely appreciate that because they know that you've been around it all enough and you have more of an appreciation for the community and the culture and, more of what this spirit of Philadelphia is per se. So is that where the bulk of the projects are in like the Fishtown area?
River Wards and then University City. So in that same Penn Drexel, we tend to invest in things that I understand. So I
Hmm.
understand that having lived there, I get the Drexel market, Penn market, and I get Fishtown, Old Richmond, Kensington. And so, I mean, if I get my scope to those few mile radiuses in two different parts of the city, just an expert in scaling those, it's tending to lead to a lot more opportunities and it's tending to really given us two different baskets of eggs that we're really poking away with. Doesn't say that we haven't done other things before that we won't in the future, but that's kind of where we are now. And we're just going to grow those two business models and see where we go from there. But in terms of realty and like the team we brought in, the people we represent, we're well informed enough to kind of represent people anywhere, especially Philadelphia proper.
Yeah. Has your vision had to change a lot since everything that's been happening over the past 3 months? Have you found that you've needed to pivot a little bit quicker than you
Yeah.
were anticipating?
We sold a project that I wanted to do because just it's a lot harder to do things right now in terms of scale, shipment delays, and just labor shortages in general. Right now, it's just unprecedented times. So we've changed a little bit in our approach and how much I can take on at this minute. But like long term, I'm still bullish on Philadelphia. Invest here. I'm not running to the suburbs to a chain restaurant or anything like that. I think that we're gonna as soon as we get past this virus and things normal out a little bit, then we're going to be fine. We're going to come back better. I'm actually in the very bullish category. We're using this opportunity now to just see any land that comes across my desk or anything we find out there in the world. Can we hold this for a period of time and what can we do on it when things cool off a little bit? So get ready.
Yeah. So what other challenges have you gone throughout your career that you feel like has kind of helped you to be more prepared for everything that's been happening right now?
Um, it's real estate. People lie, they cheat, they steal, they do all sorts of stuff. You know, we had a former business associate that we should have fired and cut off a lot sooner, and we didn't. And so um, there have been quite a few times along the way. I think what I've learned, like in terms of this scenario, the things that prepared me the most are just when I see something wrong or when you see smoke in an atmosphere, like you want to pull it out or drown it out at that point. Don't let it turn into an inferno. And most people see a problem and they tend to avoid it, run away from it, and keep working at the things that you're good at. And then I've learned to just run out the problems and just
Hmm.
attack them right away. And so as we keep scaling problems in the last few months and things that are coming up and attacking us, we're attacking them immediately. And I think that's the best approach to have. And I'm appreciative of a lot of the adversity I had to go through to learn all those lessons, to go through some of those nice fights to get to the point now where it's like, okay, like if this is an issue, this needs to be handled this minute today, drive there right now and get on top of it. So That's
Yeah.
our approach. Our approach is just to hit things as they come at us, and that's how we're taking this month by month, day by day.
Yeah, that's definitely a wonderful mindset to have towards, working through issues like that. It is better just to address them right offhand and run at them.
So hard.
Yeah. Now, what kind of thought leaders do you follow, and like who do you listen to different podcasts? Do you watch YouTube videos? What is it that, what's your approach and what kind of helps you to focus when things like this arise?
Sure. One of my guys that I love is a professor at Penn right now. I think like the youngest tenured professor ever there is a guy, Adam Grant.
Hmm.
He just did a book called Give and Take. He's done TED Talks and the whole bunch, and highly recommended. It's very much of a mindset that you don't need to be a taker or necessarily a bad person to get ahead in the business world. And they show you how things like a 5-minute favor or helping people with no expectation of help in return, how long-term that those type of different things can really lead to really good results in your career and support down the line. And overall,
Yeah,
your
absolutely.
reputation builds and scales, and highly recommend that. And then and just in terms of urban planning and our philosophies, like historically, Jane Jacobs is a big time city planner, and that whole mindset of eyes on the street and dense neighborhoods. And that's where we live. That's the space I want to be in. And that's something I draw inspiration from too when I'm thinking about how a development will communicate with the block, how it will work in the neighborhood.
So have you found that, you know, these people that you follow, have they really helped shape the business that you've created? Like, is it something that you put into your business model daily?
There's good stuff. So Grant had one where he had on the woman from The Handmaid's Tale. I
Okay.
can't remember the author's name, but she's pretty famous. I've never read the book. And
Hmm.
they had collectively came up with something for procrastination. It's like a do not list. So for years we've made to-do lists, and you just slice the items off. And if it's on the list, maybe it gets done, but it harnesses your productivity in a way that you'll find yourself on Instagram or something else, working on something you shouldn't be working, TV in the background. So now what I'll do is I'll incorporate a do not list,
Hmm.
things for a time period or block that I'm not allowed to do. And that really stops me from wandering into a tangent that I don't need to be in. It keeps me focused with the train on the rail.
Yeah, I love that. It's definitely a different approach to it. And that is actually, I think I'll probably start doing that. That is a very good idea. What would you say are your clients' biggest concerns right now during this time?
Just genuine fear. It's just being non-committal because the current circumstances are changing so much. It's you can't let fear lead you. I think that the fundamentals of this market haven't changed too much. This is a temporary situation that everyone's going through, and the biggest challenge right now is kind of trying to explain that to people or let them know that like these major universities where these buildings are located that are going to feed into them, they're not going anywhere. They're not going to get smaller after this. And so just little key metrics and reminding people that like this market's sound and we are sound. That is the challenge right now because I don't know, it's scary. You turn on the mainstream news right now and those numbers are getting thrown out at you and there's always a pullback or a wave or something going on. And so yeah, calming people's fears and just trying to reiterate that the fundamentals here are good and that things will pass.
Yeah. Now, would you say that, this that the buyers now are changing drastically just their process of how they're purchasing new homes, and have you seen a change in buying patterns?
I think people that were on the fence have decided to delay. I think people that were committed to buying are still committed to buying. That's kind of usually you have that. I'm not quite sure if the right opportunity comes up with the right house buyer, that person has exited the chat for the time being. But the people who are like committed to buying at this point, specifically that the city has a tax abatement that's expiring at the end of the year, like there are things that people are rushing towards grabbing onto because there's only a finite amount of them, inventory is low, and they need housing for their own personal use. So I don't think people are shying away from purchasing, but I don't think that we're getting the impulse buys that we were getting 4 or 5 months ago.
Hmm.
I think a lot of that will come back, and a lot of it will come with inventory. We haven't been able to produce units. There was a time period there where 6 to 8 weeks, city was closed, L&I was closed, and we're still dealing with significant shipment delays across the board. So the inventory in the market's not there, so there's just less opportunities for people to buy too. We have to
Hmm.
work on fixing that as things loosen up.
Yeah. Now, do you think there was a pivotal point in your career that you were like, I've made it. This is it. Like something that you were particularly proud of that you felt you had arrived.
I, I never look at it that way. I always kind of think of it as it's like a thin line between heaven and hell. And I wake up every day thinking like that you're a day from insolvency. You never know when things are going to kind of go sideways. I think like Andretti had one of my favorite quotes where he said, if everything seems under control, you're not going fast enough. And so we continue to blitz through, and I've never taken that moment. Maybe one day I will, but there's never been like a smell the roses and feel comfortable moment. I think it's like that being uncomfortable starting, coming up uncomfortable, and just that always stays with me. It's always in my shoulders. I always feel it every day. And I think,
Hmm.
I don't know, that's what gets me out of bed early. It's what keeps me up at night. And it's a fuel that I need to keep going.
Yeah. How often do you reevaluate your goals and where you're headed?
When the situations or the parameters change, so like there was a big, like right now, I think it's every week we're probably having a meeting discussion about what the goal, like the goals of the week are, where we think we'll be like that specific month. But hard question to answer because right now everything's pivoting and changing so quickly that I'm just trying to get through week by week. But normally it's something that I'd reevaluate like quarterly.
How would you say, you and your team have best been communicating during all this?
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna like, I think people will know at this point, like as soon as we were deemed like essential personnel from like our property management standpoint and everything like that, I got everybody back into this office space, but
Hmm.
you kept like physical distance. I got rooms over, but I don't know. I really would prefer to be in like a physical environment right now. And so we are
Yeah.
being cautious, but at the same time, we are utilizing kind of traditional human communication when I can.
Hmm.
And other than that, I'm kind of doing what everybody else is doing. A little bit of Slack. We've tried Zoho. We've tried a little bit of all of it. I tend to just use a lot of Google Drive sheets and get through it.
Yeah. What would you say are the best skill sets and qualities that you utilize in order to help keep your team on the same page and keep everybody motivated and keep everyone focused on the bigger picture?
We do a few things. I picked up one from my girlfriend who like has runs a palliative care unit. She's a nurse practitioner, and what they do every morning is like a huddle.
Hmm.
Just get everybody quickly for 5 minutes, kind of go over everyone's calendar for the day. Can you figure out if there are places to kind of help one another? And it kind of keeps us all glued together rather than independently doing all of the same stuff.
Right.
So incorporate, and then just we keep that same, without a doubt, like every week, make sure that we get that same weekly meeting time. And it's challenging in summer with vacations and all that stuff, but I like to keep everybody available and keep them all on the same page at least weekly. And then when we're all around a
Right.
socially distant huddle or
Yeah. That is nice because I'm sure it helps to make everyone feel that you're able to work through things together and nothing's your burden alone to carry, which always helps to get things done faster, honestly, I think, because you're able to stay more on track with focusing on the bigger picture.
yeah, I mean, if I can help someone or we can have like a 5 minute meeting and there's something that I can do in 2 minutes that would take someone else 20 minutes, it may be best to realign some tasks. So yeah, just those quick catch ups I think help.
Hmm. So there's the business that you are now and the business that you're becoming. How are you relaying to your clients, you know, this is what we are to you, and this is who we are. and this is where we can bring, you know, the best value for you.
Yeah, it's difficult. You know, I never wanted to be a realtor or realtors in general. I just really disliked realtors. And so then we had to become realtors in order to kind of get into that gatekeeping community to get in the know of the opportunities that I wanted. And then from that, you get your family, your friends, and everybody else kind of wants you to represent them because you're an expert in the product and building it and everything else. And so we've scaled that up tremendously. With Keller Williams, who's been a good partner with us for that. That's something I didn't see happening. And I think we will grow that. We'll continue to grow the developments, more buildings, just continue to bring them online in terms of more markets. Also, always an opportunity there. We kind of discussed it earlier, but I mean, I think in general, we'll continue to grow the revenue streams we have now. And in terms of additional opportunities, I don't know
Yeah,
what we'll get into next. It kind of depends on what road we cross.
absolutely. So today's episode was sponsored by the charity of your choice, the Fishtown Neighbors Association. So just tell me a little bit about that.
So that's our local RCO close to the office, the community organization we kind of talked about earlier. And I guess Fishtown, just like everyone else right now, is going through a rough time with all the COVID closures, bars, restaurants, everything like that. So if people can, when things are open, dine out, support wherever you can, or if not, support the organization in general that's kind of helping with grants and supporting the neighborhood through this difficult time. It helps a lot, along with all the other local neighborhood organizations as well. I know all these corridors and businesses are hurting a lot of our friends. So any way that anybody can help is greatly.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. It sounds like it's definitely something that I'm sure a lot of communities hopefully have put in place as well, because I know everyone's been trying to come together to lift each other, which is, you know, all we can do in a time like this. But well, Roman, thank you so much. I so appreciate you hopping on the call, and I hope to talk to you again soon.
All right, Jason. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you.